Welcome to the Dirt Church Radio Aid Station podcast number who knows what, but it's 2025. Buckle in. I'm Matt Raymond.
I'm Ellie Pottinger.
I'm Andrew McDowell. Hi.
What I want to talk about today is the taper, because not the mammal, the taper, but the taper.
Such a nerd. My God.
I know. Yeah. It didn't help in high school. It's not helping now.
The liger?
The liger.
Taper and a liger. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Can't believe you.
No, keep going. Don't clap. Just go.
Okay. So the taper, how do you do it? Because we're at that point. A lot of us have been training for a long time. A lot
Do
of us
it with
have been
white knuckles as you grind your teeth for the 10 days leading up to the race.
I'm sure
People
there's
find it hard, don't they? They really struggle with the taper.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of people feel like they're getting less fit.
Right. And what happens though, because that's the thing, isn't it? And I guess for those who don't know or listening in for the first time or are new to ultramarathon running, what is the definition of a taper?
So it's basically a reduction in your training volume over the last few weeks of training. You want to be running roughly 40% less than your normal training volume. So keep your legs fresh for race day, about 20% reduction in the last couple of weeks. But you keep the intensity there. So it's supposed to be maintained, balance it out. A hard session might be the equivalent of a long run effort-wise. So think about your efforts that you're putting in and making sure that you're actually starting to just dial the volume back a bit so that you're feeling fresh and ready to go on race day.
Has this ever, do you think, been executed effectively by anyone in the history of the world?
Yes.
I would say definitely.
Have you had a good taper, Andrew, ever?
Occasionally, yeah. And I think it's like the less it's kind of weird. It's like the less you care, the better it is. In other words, care about all the factors and all the things that, I don't know, like especially my first few races, my first few sort of long races that you've been training for months for, the paranoia in those last 10 days is massive. You know, you more than anything, you're just like, oh man, what if I get sick? What if I get that injury, you know, with 4 days to go? What if, I don't know, what if my car breaks down on the way to the race? There's so many of the things that you worry about, or I eat the wrong foods the night before, which you can go into all of that stuff. But like, it's the mentality of actually after a while, you sort of go, you know what will be, what will be. Obviously you can control certain things, but actually if you just chill out and realize that you've done the work, the hay is in the barn, and just look after yourself, you're nearly there, you know. So nowadays I don't, you know, yes, I do pretty much everything Ellie says, although I don't think about it as specifically as percentages and things like that. I just kind of, you know, ease up a touch, and by default it sort of ends up a bit less. But all that worrying leading up to it now, I don't really care anymore. And it makes a huge difference, you know. Before my first miler, I was so terrified. It didn't help with Terry Davison, his absolutely freaky race briefing the day before for Northburn. You know, that was my first miler, and he just scared the shit out of me. And I remember trying to sleep, and it was hopeless. I got like maybe an hour and a quarter sleep the night before. I remember just rolling around in bed trying to sleep and just getting so annoyed and grumpy and freaked out. You turn up to the start line just bleary-eyed and all that sort of carry on. The race actually went great, and you sort of realise that just one step at a time, you'll be fine. Seemed to work. And so now, after all these years, I just don't worry. If the race is a disaster, don't worry, there'll be another one, you know. And of course, as a result, you end up having a really good taper, and you sleep well, and you do all the right things, and actually the race goes well because you weren't totally freaked out by it. Seems counterintuitive, but yeah, it certainly works these days. That makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Ellie, you are someone who guides people through tapers for a living, and we've sort of talked about the dictionary definition of it. But, I mean, what are some of the questions that you get from your athletes?
I mean, about now, people go, I've seen someone doing this really long run. Like, should I go and do another really long run?
Thanks, Rigby.